there, studio owner. You've put your blood, sweat, and tears into creating a brick and mortar business that serves your clients and impacts the community you love. You are my hero. And I'm pretty sure we could sit down and talk like besties do, because I get it. I've had my studio business for over 12 years, a handful of kids, and a few passion projects that I love. Like this one. Hey there, I'm Melissa Rose, your visibility coach for the studio owner who wants more stellar clients coming through their doors, more bank in their bank account, and more time to hang out and be completely present with those they love most. In this podcast, we're going to share the nitty-gritty of running a successful studio business, sharing stories, talking strategy, and learning practical tips that leave you inspired, empowered, and equipped to create your epic life every single day. So, if you're a dance studio, yoga studio, Pilates studio, or a fitness boutique studio, you are in the right place. Add some kiddos into the mix and maybe a life partner, and I call you a rebel woman. Ready to dive in? Let's get real. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brick and Mortar Visibility. We have a really special interview today because it's with a nonprofit. Anna Johnson and the Butterfly Path are local to the St. Croix Valley, and they are doing great work in our community, and they are part of the Healthy in the Valley series. Healthy in the Valley is a free digital resource for the entire St. Croix Valley. So if you are local, this is a publication where you're going to find the area's best and leading business owners who are passionate about health and wellness, helping and serving you live your best life in mind, body, and soul. So if you are local to Hudson, River Falls, Stillwater, or the surrounding area, I invite you to grab your free copy by going to healthyinthevalley.com. In today's episode, we're going to hear Anna's story, how this all came to be, and what great work she's doing in our community. So sit back and enjoy and learn from Anna Johnson and the Butterfly Path. Anna Johnson, thank you so much for being on the Brick and Mortar Visibility Podcast. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. Happy New Year. We are going to talk about the Butterfly Path, which I'm super excited to talk about because I remember when it all started and how it came to be. But first of all, let's just dive into a little bit about Anna. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I actually wanted to be a teacher since I was little.
Like your mama?
Yeah.
Oh.
I used to play school in her classrooms on the weekend when she would be there, getting ready for the week. So I actually went to college for 2 years to be a teacher.
Okay. Did you want to do elementary?
Yeah, I was going to get, I was in a program to get a dual license. So I wanted to actually be a special education teacher and then a elementary teacher. So I really liked like older elementary, like 4th, 5th graders. Mm-hmm. So I liked teaching them. So, because that's what I did, like some of my practicum and things like that in school. So I really liked that age group.
All right. That is a funny. I do. I teach kiddos too. So they're all fun in their own ways. I like my little 3s, and then I like my, first graders, and then my 5th graders. I like my middle school kiddos too. And then high school is fun, and they're all fun in their own way. Yeah.
There's something unique in each age group. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay. So tell everybody, Anna, who you are, what you do, and who you serve right now.
Yeah, so I'm Anna Johnson. I was born and raised in Hudson, Wisconsin, and I founded the Butterfly Path, a mental health nonprofit. 5 years ago, we just turned 5 in October, and we serve everyone in Western Wisconsin and the Twin Cities, Minnesota communities. My goal is to obviously expand because that's the point of our organization, is to help as many people as we can. Our mission is basically just to knock down any barriers that people come to, I guess, when they're trying to get help with mental health. And that could be personally or for someone they know. It just, through my own experiences, and then, networking and talking to others, there's just been, a lot of barriers to get help. And so we're kind of here to basically knock those down.
Right. So let's talk about how this all started.
Well, so I guess it kind of started when I was first diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder. So that was in college when I kind of realized that I couldn't really get out of bed and things like that. I really didn't know what depression was at the time. But I knew anxiety, because anxiety, that term was always thrown out there. I was always like a worrier growing up, but really that was anxiety. And that kind of, I saw actually in college when I wanted to change majors, I saw that kind of increased, I guess, my anxiety increased, things like that. I was really just the physical ailments of anxiety and depression really kind of came about. So when I kind of started getting help with that, that was kind of a rocky road, but I ended up transferring and moving back home to Hudson. And that's when, because I was going to school at UMD in Duluth. And that is when I kind of started speaking out about my story more and more talking about mental health, and that it can happen to even someone who is like me, was really bubbly and always involved in the community growing up, really involved in high school, things like that. And my family life was pretty, status quo. Both my parents were still together, and, there was nothing really, statistically, wrong environmentally.
Right.
So I that was more of not a shock to the community, but more of like a, wow, okay. And then people kind of started using me and my family as a resource, as its own, to get help for mental health resources. So kind of when I was around 19, 20, that's when I started a blog called Surviving Young. And I just wanted to kind of write about my story. I always liked writing, and I still do like to write, anything that's kind of art related. And then I was kind of talked with my parents about starting a nonprofit, because I was just really frustrated with the volume of people that would maybe come and talk to me or my mom. My mom being a teacher in the school district, she was just a really great resource, especially from like a parent perspective, because parents, you're trying your best, right? And when you're even Googling, like I remember hearing from my mom that she was trying to Google just a therapist for me. And it's not like it just said, okay, go to Emily Stevenson at Collaborative Counseling. She is open this date and will take this insurance. It's like, you really have to go through so many layers to get even that initial appointment. So I wanted to start a nonprofit way before I even started it. And then I started speaking in public about my story more. My church did a mental health, like a 3-part series. And one of the nights I was speaking about my story. So that was when I publicly spoke about it versus just my blog. So it was in front of more people. That was really empowering, because I had people from all ages come up to me afterwards and talk about their own mental health, struggles and things like that. And how, there was someone who was older, and she even said, she's like, I've had, I struggled with depression myself, and you will get through this. So it was just really heartwarming as a community too. And then, probably 6 months after that, my dad died by suicide. And that really kind of turned us upside down. And still kind of does. My family, we're still kind of navigating through that. So that kind of put my mental health advocacy on hold, because I was so confused that a mentally healthy, well, quote unquote, mentally healthy man, because there was no autopsy done or anything. So we don't know if he had a physical, something physical with his brain or anything. There was nothing done like that. And so, but he knew he was like my mental health support. Like, he helped me calm down from a panic attack just a week prior. So he knew, all our skills, things like that. Him and my mom were high school sweethearts. They were uber close, had a really great relationship. My parents never fought, kind of thing, healthy fighting, but it wasn't like my dad ever slept on the couch, things like that. So that was really a shock to us when he just left home and never came back. And the night before my little brother's grad party. So it was just it was a whirlwind. And then, so I put my mental health advocacy on hold for a few months. And then I finally, in October of 2017, I was like, well, it's now or never. I kind of need to, either start something or just kind of, and it was, I'm reading a book called Finding Meaning, The Sixth Stage of Grief. And that was really my my meaning. And it still is. It's kind of how I cope with even my own mental health struggles still. Like I'm still on antidepressants and things like that and see my therapist and psychologist regularly, but it also helps knowing that I'm helping people and coming from like a real life experience. And we just have added grief to our story too. And how grief isn't a mental illness, but it can stem, and there's grief in all shapes and forms, it's also, you could lose someone in life, but not like they might not die, but you might lose someone still, so there's so much to learn about grief as well, that it comes in many shapes and forms. So that's kind of how we got started, and we're growing, as we learn too, and more things come up, and, like a pandemic, for instance, that changed a lot. So that's kind of where we're at. And we just want to help people.
So can I ask you, so what made you decide in October 2017, that, okay, now this is the time to do this?
Well, I was I was finishing up my last semester of college. It was the semester I was graduating, and I was going into marketing. I didn't have like a job lined up yet. And I was still living at home, and I kind of figured, well, I don't know. I remember sitting in my room and deciding, and when I decided to do it, but it kind of was like, I don't know now.
There wasn't anything like going on. It was just, okay, you just decided. You decided that this is the time. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I think because the initial like shock factor of my dad, passing away kind of settled down a little bit. Didn't go away completely by any means, but we were just trying to kind of navigate that new normal.
Yeah.
And that kind of just gave me a sense of hope, and that we could, kind of something good to happen in all the bad.
Exactly.
So, and that's when I started I got Choose Happy shirts made, and that's when we kind of jump started our funding. So.
Okay. So you provide funding or resources for people who need it. So I've seen you with different therapy organizations or counseling offices that they can apply for scholarship or financial aid or something like that. And you're part of that. So can you just dive in a little bit to that so people understand how you are working in our communities?
Yeah. So right now we work with local therapy providers, and we provide therapy scholarships. So let's say we're working with your business and we provide you X amount of funding for like 6 months or something. Then you're able to use that pool of funds for people who maybe you have to turn away because you don't accept their insurance, or they have to turn you away because they can't afford your service anymore, or, because life happens and insurances change, jobs change, things like that. I've had it where my provider has changed, or they don't take my insurance anymore, or something like that. And it was just something as common as Blue Cross Blue Shield or Health Partners or something like that. So it happens. I've seen it even in my life with every stage.
Yeah.
So we work with 2 businesses in Hudson and 1 in River Falls. And the goal is obviously to expand that as we go. But with that funding, that's been able to help hundreds of people stay in therapy or start therapy. And what's been really cool is seeing people who might only need to use our service once, and then maybe they get on their feet and can either, kind of find a plan that works for them to continue therapy, or they found a different resource that like someone does their initial intake with a therapist and finds out that they actually need a different service, or they actually need help with medication, things like that. So they can get, directed on the right path. So that's been really cool to see. Or we've also just helped people month after month. And that's okay too, because it's not linear. It's not a one size fits all. So we just want to make sure we don't have any, income requirements, anything like that, because we don't want to create another barrier.
Okay. So how are you getting your funding? How are you doing it? What like fundraisers are you doing? Talk to me about that. And who are the people that are you're targeting to fund and donate?
So before that was our funding was through, donations on our website or Facebook. Facebook is really nice because they don't take any percentage of the donations, or like our website provider does, just through like Stripe.
Yeah.
Or I think like PayPal takes a percentage. And it's minor. It's like a couple dollars, but Facebook doesn't take any. And then we also started doing little fundraisers here and there. But last year we kicked off our first big fundraiser, which was our golf tournament for my dad. And we just about doubled our goal for our first time, which was really cool. We got over almost $20,000, which as an organization, that was just like, yeah, that was amazing. That was really cool to see the community kind of come together in that way, because that also helped us really, be able to help fund for therapy and not have to spend all of our time trying to find these little fundraisers to help us get those funds. Because before too, we would sell a lot of shirts and things like that.
Yeah.
And then, so we're kicking off, we have our second fundraiser or second golf tournament, at June 12th of this year, the Monday golf tournament. So we are looking for sponsors for that as well. So.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So you've had a lot to navigate, and I thank you for sharing your story. I didn't realize that you had this vision prior to your dad's passing. I thought this was because of your dad's passing. So this is interesting for me to learn this right now. So, so throughout all this journey that you shared with us, I love to find out what we're made of, right? You've gone through a lot of stuff. You've had some challenges. I'm sure you had some like setbacks. So when was a time that you realized, you know what, I got this. I am a badass. I got this. When did you realize, when was one of those moments? And I'm sure there were a few, but when were a couple of them? Share one that sticks out.
Man.
She's got a big old smile, y'all.
Oh gosh. I probably would say it happened a few months ago. I'm living on my own for the first time ever. I just went through a divorce, and so there was just kind of like another grief, thing. But it was the 5th anniversary of my dad this year. And so there's a lot of things, but I've learned to kind of see the good in the bad. But I've been forcing myself to also feel the bad, because I am a pro at stuffing down my feelings. And if they feel uncomfortable, I don't want them. So that's been my goal this year, is to, as I've been living on my own, to really kind of reflect on that. And I really sat down one night and kind of really honed in on my story and why the Butterfly Path started, kind of similar to what I just shared. But I realized, I was looking at our website and I was like, we don't even really have kind of our story on here. And it made me reflect, like, we have come a long way, and it's been the whole community. I cannot take full credit at all, because the community has been a huge part of it, and my family. Because I remember I asked my family when I first started my blog if it was okay that I wrote about it, because it does affect them too. They're my supporters, and they said yes, and they continue to let me share my story, which is really cool. So it was kind of a few months ago, I was like, you know what? I do have this. I can do this by myself. I can, I've got this. I can, because everyone has their stuff. Everyone has stuff going on. I'm a really big fan of Nora McInerney, and she came to town to St. Paul a couple months ago, and she just launched a book called Bad Vibes Only. And she also lost her dad, and she also lost her husband too. And I mean, like, months apart, and had a miscarriage. And one of the things she ended her, speaking engagement on was, "You are not special." And that really spoke to me because I always felt, not that I felt like I was always special, but I felt like I was not an outcast even, but like something was different about me because I didn't have a dad, or because like I did have a dad, but you know what I'm saying? And like when Father's Day comes around, that's such an uncomfortable time. And I'm sure it is for Mother's Day for people who don't have moms, or, you know, it doesn't matter even what age you're at. And it made me just feel so good being in the room full of people who've also had hardships, because it's like, yeah, everyone has hardships.
Everybody does.
Okay.
I love that you're not special. I love that flip of that, and just being, everybody has their stuff. Everybody does. And I had a neighbor share that years ago, and we were running together, and I go, oh, this is so hard. And I go, I shouldn't complain. I mean, my kids are healthier. You know, I was like, but she goes, but that's your hard. And who's to say your hard is your hard, and it doesn't, you cannot compare it to anybody else. And I love that. You're not special. I love that.
Yes. I know. It kind of made like this weight was lifted off my
yes,
like,
it totally does. Yes.
Okay.
Another thing that I heard recently was, rather than say I'm worried about this, or I'm worried about, let's just say, paying the rent. I'm worried about paying the rent. I'm concerned about paying the rent, and just how the change of the word changes and just goes, okay, because worry just spins you in a cycle of going, and concern just goes, it causes you to pause and just go and think creatively of, okay, what do you need to do? I'm concerned about my son's behavior, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Versus I'm worried about it. Yeah. So that really helped me, just even changing that dialogue there. I know. I love the stuff. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So as a business owner, as somebody who's heading up a nonprofit, what is a visibility strategy that has been really helpful for you, Anna?
Well, my full-time job is in digital marketing. So and that's kind of when I graduated college, I got into social media marketing right away. So social media, I've just naturally gravitated towards social media, and also probably because I kind of grew up on social media. I mean, I was like 16 or 17 when I got Facebook for the first time, but then so then I've been on social media for 10 years. So I'm 27 now. So that's just kind of been my number one avenue to kind of get in front of people. However, I am learning too, which is kind of a challenge, is there are a lot of people who are like our donor base who aren't on social media. Yeah. So kind of getting creative and going back to the basic too is kind of a really good reminder for me to kind of get in front of people. Or I learned too with our golf tournament last year, people who golfed didn't know about it until, you know, close to the time that it was happening, because they're just not active on social media. So, but that is my number one. I just think it's kind of a fun way to be visual on it, and you can kind of tell a story in a fun way. And I just love photos and graphics and stuff like that, and videos. So that's kind of our main thing.
Cool. All right. So you have your golf tournament coming up. We'll put that link in the show notes and let people know. We'll also put the link so they can donate if they feel inclined to donate. We'll make sure it's the Facebook link so no fees are taken out. Is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience as we wrap this up?
Nothing that comes to mind, but they can find us at thebutterflypath.org. And that kind of shows, you know, our story. We have a lot of resources on there as well, as I'm losing an AirPod. But we have a lot of our resources there as well. And I just really like to connect with people. If people are other mental health advocates, I always love to hear from them too. And we can bounce ideas off each other. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Anna and the Butterfly Path are featured in Healthy in the Valley. And if you grab that at healthyinthevalley.com, you can grab the download of all these amazing business owners and nonprofits that are part of our community to help make us stronger in mind, body, and soul. So I'm super excited about you being part of that project. Thank you. And I'm super excited for people to know about you and sharing your story here, because it was fun to learn. I did not realize that this was part of the journey. You are meant to do this because you have been thinking about this for a while. So awesome. Yeah. So everybody go visit the Butterfly Path, go visit the Butterfly Path and see what Anna is doing in our community to help with mental health. This is awesome. Thanks so much for being part of the Brick and Mortar Visibility.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, everybody, we will see you here, same time, same place next week. Peace.